Off the ball. This is News Talk.
Yeah, welcome along to Mondays Off the Ball. So as we said there just before news, John Delaney has stepped aside voluntarily, but then not quite. It's all pending an investigation. We're not sure which investigation. Is it Mazars? Is it Grant Thornton? Is it a completely new investigation? There are so many investigations. Maybe Jonathan Hall will come back and investigate. We'll talk to Brian Kerr at 7:30. Tiger Woods, Masters champion 2019, to be teased out and relived with Lawrence Donegan and Dermot Gilleese. That's after 8 o'clock. And then Mo Salah, beautiful Mo Salah, Pat Nevin with us on the football show. 53106 is the text number. We're at Off the Ball on Twitter. You're very welcome along. We have Richie McCormack here as ever.
Hey, Joe.
And Kieran Cunningham, chief sports writer with the Irish Daily Star. So the breaking news in the last hour now, just an hour gone, revolves around this FAI statement. Richie, you have the bulk of it there. We'll bring it to people.
The board of the Football Association of Ireland, they say, met in Dublin today. Following that meeting, the subcommittee of the board met with Executive Vice President John Delaney. John Delaney has offered to voluntarily step aside from carrying out his role as Executive Vice President, with immediate effect, pending the completion of an independent investigation by the association into issues of concern to the board. Honorary Secretary Michael Cody and Honorary Treasurer Eddie Murray have both voluntarily resigned from the board, and the board would like to thank Michael Cody and Eddie Murray for their long service to Irish football and wish them well after their voluntary resignations. The meeting of the board also mandated the subcommittee set up to review the governance and recently publicised financial transactions to press ahead with their work as a matter of urgency. The FAI will update Sport Ireland on all developments ahead of the meeting of the Oireachtas Committee on Sport tomorrow. The board of the association wishes to assure members, football supporters and all stakeholders and sponsors that it is expediting all processes designed to restore faith in the Football Association of Ireland. And the board acknowledges finally all concerns raised by stakeholders and supporters and is working to ensure that all government funding is restored to the Irish football at the earliest opportunity.
I'm not sure what any of this means, to be honest. Certainly not any of the aspects of the John Delaney case. So he has offered to voluntarily step aside from the FAI with immediate effect, pending the completion of an independent investigation into the issues of concern. So we don't know, for instance, if John Delaney offered his resignation. He's offered to voluntarily step aside pending the completion of an independent investigation. There's no reference to John Delaney offering his resignation, and it seemed, based on the leaks, based on his friend in Kerry, that was incoming.
Yeah, that he texted him to say he was leaving on Saturday, which was a very odd way of operating anyway, to tell somebody about that before it had been made public or before the board had met on it. So it's difficult to know what's going on, but I can't see a way back for John Delaney. I'd be very, very surprised if he returns to this role that was only created a few weeks ago anyway. There's another investigation that Sport Ireland are carrying out an audit of the FAI's finances, and what that throws up, given what we saw in the Sunday Times from Mark Tighe's reporting yesterday. If there's other stuff that comes to the fore, and even given what Mark has unearthed over the last few weeks, I cannot see how there's a way back for John Delaney. Because I think the tide of both public and opinion and the political pressure that's now there. There's a lot of politicians now jumping on the bandwagon. I was in Eamon Dunphy's podcast today, and I was asking Eamon about going to 50th. John Delaney's 50th birthday party, and he was a bit defensive on it, but he says he was on table number 89, that there were a lot of people at it, and that could be Eamon exaggerated a bit, but I'd quite like to see the full guest list, because I have a suspicion there would be a few people who've jumped on the anti-Delaney bandwagon that might have been there.
The president of UEFA was at that birthday party.
Well, they would be. He's well got with UEFA, obviously, but even some of the politicians, there are some politicians who've made good points, but at the same time, they're definitely using this for political gain and the run up to an election, without doubt.
For politicians, this is cannon fodder.
Yeah.
This is easy street. Yeah. Everybody's against this guy, it seems. They know which way the wind is blowing. This is just take a baseball bat and swing away. There are various interpretations of this statement, and again, you can almost sympathise with the Oireachtas Committee trying to make sense of their willfully vague answers, the FAI's willfully vague answers. There is an argument that maybe there is some confidence that the investigation will vindicate John Delaney and the FAI board somehow, and that he'll be restored to his position, and this is a temporary stepping aside. Equally, I've seen different people, like Stuart Gilholy, the PFAI solicitor, he was making the point that on Twitter, clearly he reckoned the FAI board received legal advice that in the absence of a resignation, They would need to carry out an investigation before taking further action. Legally, probably correct, but a disaster for an already beleaguered organisation that needs closure on this fiasco. So if John Delaney, in short, didn't offer his resignation, then the board might feel, based on legal advice, well, we have to conduct an investigation before, well, you'd be sacked, I guess, would be the point if he's not going to offer a resignation. Or it could be anything in between. We really don't know. And we don't know which investigation.
No.
Like, why in their statement can they not at least clarify which investigation?
Yeah, or why, quite a lot of the board members, including the President, Donald Conway, went out by a side door of the Carlton Hotel in Dublin, where they were meeting today. And there were a lot of press there. Like, why could they not just stop for a second, take a couple of questions? Why are they communicating by statement all the time when all this is going on? And when questions were asked of them at the Oireachtas Committee, at least 3 different members of that committee asked them direct questions about the bridging loan and what was it for. And there was no answer given. So that's why I cannot see how this is going to clear, investigations are going to clear everything up. When they were asked explicit questions about it, they could not give an answer.
No, and like they finished the statement, as Richie read out there, with the usual palaver,
stakeholders, football
members
family,
and football family, but there's no transparency. I've been quite curious about corporate governance. I was saying this to Brian Kerr earlier on. We recorded a chat with Brian Kerr. So the phrase has been used a lot, and I certainly didn't in my education spend much time on corporate governance. So I said this morning, I'll give this a Google and, don't worry, I'll give up pretty quickly when it gets complicated because frankly, who has the time? It is fairly simple stuff, corporate governance. This is not law after law after law. It's things like transparency or fairness or accuracy. Like about the most complicated thing was board limits. Now, Michael Cody, who has resigned, and Eddie Murray, who has resigned. Michael Cody was one of the 3 board members along with Tony Fitzgerald and John Delaney who knew about the loan. So I think he was going to be under pressure invariably. Now, why John Delaney's not under pressure, if Michael Cody's under pressure for knowing about the loan, is a question that I'm sure will be asked. Michael Cody and Eddie Murray, both 79 years of age. Cody's been on the board since Italia 90, since 1990. Michael Cody's been hanging out on the board.
Most people in this radio station weren't born then.
Now, I'm no expert in corporate governance after this morning. I'm not sure if you're familiar with term limits, but that one is a good stint. 1990, I hadn't fully appreciated 1990, but I don't know. Like it's like we said, it's a deliberately vague statement. We don't know what's happening. I think that's clearly the way they would like it.
But it's funny when you do the maths on it, John. If you go through, what we heard yesterday about the credit card bill for just 6 months, the salary, the worth of a company car over a year. What the probable pension entitlements and the rent, it probably works out close on 600 grand a year. And this is one of the...
He could make $1 million elsewhere, though.
But it's one of the smallest football associations in Europe. Like it's an Accrington Stanley in world terms, and how they're paying that kind of money. And then, like, we've seen what they pay to managers as well. Like the FAI has had notions for a long time that the delusions of grandeur.
It says something about how grim things are, that those Sunday Times revelations, I think we can call them, but the expenses yesterday, like they're not even addressed today. Like there's no sense of we need to clear this up, or a lot of this is reimbursed by UEFA or by John Delaney himself, or this is not representative of how things are done generally. It's just like that's small fry. We don't even need to clear that up. That's
but I think that one of the things with this is the whole thing is there have been a lot of FAI scandals over the years, and often it was one big scandal, one big event. One big revelation. I know, like the famous Night of the Long Knives in 1996 when there was a big cull. But this really isn't about one major revelation. It's a drip, drip, drip thing. It's an accumulation of detail.
It's actually unravelling 14 years.
Yeah, that's what I mean. So everything adds to it. So, it's all in the mix, like from singing Joe McDonnell in a pub and denying it was him in the video when everybody could see it and threatened to sue over it. And then they eventually had to admit it was him. Like the FAI actually lied to media outlets saying that's not John Delaney, and it was. So all this comes together, the credit card bills, the bridging loans, the rent, like it's all part of the mix. So, you can't just say you have to go or the board will have to go because of this. It's because of everything. It's because of the way things have built up.
Yeah, I'm surprised how this is drawn out more than I thought now. This has become such a spectacle. So pending the investigation, what are we talking here? 6 months? A year? A month? No timeline given.
And what outcome from the investigation will determine his coming or staying?
And which investigation?
Is he?
You know you're in trouble.
The investigation.
When there's more than one investigation into you.
I presume he's not getting paid while he's under investigation.
Doesn't clarify.
Doesn't clarify that, but it's an interesting one.
Who cares? I mean, I don't know.
I thought say he might care.
It also says John Delaney has offered to voluntarily step aside from carrying out his role. Doesn't say whether or not the board has actually accepted his offer to voluntarily step aside.
Yeah,
I presume they have, though. That's the tenure, but they don't say he offered to resign. It's a voluntary step aside pending the completion of an investigation. Right, we will talk to Brian Kerr just after 7:30. We've already spoken to him. He can't shed much light on this either. You won't be surprised to hear he's as confused by the statement as we are. And then after 8 o'clock, Lawrence Donegan and Dermot Gleeson will join us. Dermot Gleeson was at Augusta for Tiger Woods. Defying the odds. 2019 Masters champion, 11 years since his last major win, 14 years since his last win at Augusta, Richie.
Yeah, and he's back inside the world's top 10 golfers for the first time since 2014 as well. His victory at Augusta sees Woods climb 6 positions to number 6 in the latest golf world rankings. Dustin Johnson has regained the world number 1 spot from Justin Rose, while Rory McIlroy drops down 1 place to 4th. And after slipping on the green jacket, Woods was asked what yesterday's win means to him.
Well, I can win majors now. Yeah, the win at Eastlake was a big confidence booster for me because I'd come close last year a couple times, but still need to cross the finish line, and I just didn't quite do it. I didn't do it at Tampa. I didn't do it at the Open Championship. It was a little bit better at the PGA, but still I didn't win. And so Eastlake was a big step for me, confirming that I could still win out here and against the best players. Because Eastlake obviously it's the hottest 30 guys for the year. And to be able to do that against Rory and Rosie there gave me a lot of confidence going into this year. And I said, well, just keep building on it, and let's try and get the mind and body, peaking towards Augusta. So my last 3 major championships have been pretty good, and so that in itself gives me a lot of confidence going down the road.
There we are. Dermot Gleeson, Lawrence Donegan on the way after 8 o'clock. Did you watch this or?
I had a strange day because I was at a wedding in Donegal. My sister got married the other day.
Very good. Congratulations.
Yeah, Deirdre and Brian, so might as well mention them. So.
Deirdre and Brian, well done.
Were you wearing a white suit for this one as well, were you?
I did wear a white 3-piece set. Yes.
Go.
I did see that actually picture, yeah.
Yeah.
On Twitter you put it up. Did you put it up with a picture of John Delaney in a white suit saying he'd wear a white suit? Yeah. You also put up a hell of a picture today. Your hair was shocking.
It was shocking. Yeah.
Oh, good grief. Can we get, I know the radio listeners won't be able to do this, but...
listen, it's nice to have the option, Joe, to be fair, to have that,
Well, we could have
Richie or Tiger don't have that option.
Might have been saved from yourself. Cunningham today on Twitter with John Delaney back in the day, but...
no, but I was coming back from Donegal. I was coming back from Donegal, so I was listening to... Liverpool-Chelsea with Nathan and Kevin and following the Masters on Twitter. So it's very odd.
So were they, by the way.
Yes, so it's very odd.
The iPad out.
It's very odd listening.
Kev missed the Mo Salah goal.
Yeah, these days, not actually seeing something that dramatic and those big stories, are just listening and getting the pictures. So then when you see it later, like Salah's goal was a real moment. And then the Tiger story is unbelievable, and the more I think about it, it can only happen in golf. Like there's all this talk, is it the greatest sport in comeback? But with most sport, your career lasts 10 years. Like early 30s, you're gone. There's very, very few sports you can win anything at 43. Like even snooker, which isn't a physical sport. I think it was Mark Williams at 43 was the oldest, the first world champion over 40 in 40 years. So, like, what other sports could you come back 13 years since the last major? Is that what
11.
11, sorry.
14 since his last Masters.
Since the last Masters, yeah. And having had, obviously, such serious back injuries and all the scandals in his private life and all the well-documented issues, that it's just, it's an astonishing story, I cannot think, and people are trying to make comparisons. I don't think anything compares to it, to be honest. So,
I agree. Ben Hogan is sometimes compared, but, Hogan won a US Open within 14, 15 months of his car crash.
Yeah.
March 49, the car crash was. Now, he was close to death. So proximity to death has to be a factor, but the recovery once he got past the initial scare was pretty straightforward.
Yeah.
And he was back winning majors 14, 15 months later, a US Open, and just continued on. In a lot of pain, and I think he had to bathe in Epsom salts every day, and it wasn't easy. And he had to wrap his legs in bandages, but it was more straightforward than what Woods with 21st century medicine was trying to do. And it's just it's almost impossible. Like, we didn't really talk about it even on Golf Weekly for a long time. It was a kind of a running joke. Sometimes someone would tweet in and say, "Is Tiger back soon?" And it'd be ha, because, like, he said at the Champions Dinner 2 years ago at Augusta to Nick Faldo, "I'm done. We're shutting this thing down, it's over." And he flew to London the next day for a last kind of consultation, and maybe I'll do the spinal fusion, which was more about his quality of life than his golf career. And he got it done, and miraculously got his body to a place where he can play competitive golf. I know people scoff about the physicality required for golf. You play around in golf, you're pretty tired. You play 4 in a row, you're tired, and a pro-am, and practice. Like, even now, he can't do technical work, he says, with anything more than a wedge. And you look at the quality of his ball striking with the longer clubs at the weekend. It's really exceptional. And he had the chipping yips. Most people, if they have the chipping yips, that's them done. The scar tissue is so severe, it's very hard to come back from under the real pressure. And he's 43. And the field of 2019 destroy the field of 2000, 2002 when he was at his pomp. They destroy that field. They're longer, they're bigger, they're all in the gym now, they're better. And he beat Koepka and Molinari, who have hoovered up all the majors over the last 18 months. And, you could argue, like, they gave it to them, but they didn't really. Like, he was under the same pressure. It's really, really tough on the back nine. You saw what happened to poor old Patrick Cantley and others. So when you add all that together, and his age, and it's Augusta, and like the months and months at a time out of the sport, and 2-3 years literally just lying on his back, unable to walk, couldn't drive, like he's in a recliner, and the DUI, where he's messing with prescription drugs, and his life looks to be out of control with the scandals, You combine all of that. Like, no one's been embarrassed when it comes to scandals, sex scandals like Tiger Woods, ever. Bill Clinton, no, like nothing, not even remotely close. You swirl all that around, and it's like, this was impossible. And there's this video of Woods on an iPad watching various people write him off. Nobody wrote him off more than him. Nobody said Tiger Woods was basically finished more than Tiger Woods. And then he came back. People said he might win a tournament. He'll never win a major. I was actually speechless, and I was a bit surprised about his reaction on the 18th. Because we've never seen that from him. No. Thought it was a genuine, look, he's commercialised a lot of horrible stuff, like his dad from the grave talking about the scandals in a Nike ad. Disgusting. That was
possibly, I was watching this last night as well, it was possibly his first human reaction to one of his major successes.
I thought so as well. I was surprised at the extent of it.
Because that's how somebody would react if they won the Masters. That's how somebody would react if they'd made a comeback, when you're thinking about the hypotheticals. And he absolutely lived that out, and from that point of view, that kind of stuff was nice to see.
But that's what interests me most of all, because it's not just the physical stuff he's gone through, because obviously anybody who's had any kind of back trouble at all knows how debilitating it can be, and even to be able to swing a golf club when you've had back problems, let alone get to the level he's got at, is amazing. But it's what the mental toll of the last few years and the psychological impact it's had on him. Like, even going into, like, people kept going on about his strength on the back nine in the Masters, and what he'd be like in the back nine. But going into that back nine, given all that's happened to him over the last few years, is very, very different to going into the back 9 years ago.
When he felt invincible.
Yeah, he felt invincible. So now he has all the frailties and the... Like, I don't think you can ever overstate the impact of public humiliation, what it does to somebody. It is absolutely devastating what it does to your self-esteem if you're publicly humiliated. And to bounce back from...
just on that point, I don't know if you saw on the Saturday, you were probably having a great time on stage at the wedding. He finished his round on the Saturday, and the patrons, of course, lined the walkway.
Alice called them fans, you can too.
Did he?
He did.
Oh, he won't be asked back. Peter Alice actually got Tiger Woods in the BBC sweepstake, I heard.
Okay.
Oh, my boy.
Yeah. So he, from the 18th to the clubhouse on the Saturday, was lined with people, just thrilled to see him. And usually on a Saturday especially, Woods would just be 1,000-yard stare, no smile, Roy Keane in a tunnel territory.
Yeah.
And instead he was just beaming.
Yeah.
And he was given some high fives. And I think he is not taking the affection of the public now for granted in the way that he did when he was a superstar icon at 21. I would say a part of him must have wondered if post-scandal people would look at him and the really, really grim, torrid details and would have just said, like, we're almost uncomfortable around you. instead they've almost taken him to their hearts more so, and there's like a redemptive quality to the whole thing, and I think he actually appreciates that.
Yeah, because it actually reminds me, it's often a bit of a tangent, but I remember listening to a podcast, Jarlath Regan's Irishman Abroad podcast, an interview we did with Dermot O'Rourke, but they were in college in UCD the same time Michelle Smith was doing law, and that's after she was suspended, got a 4-year doping ban. And they were saying that people used to sometimes shout things at her at UCD and heckle her, and you cannot escape your past. You see the picture, and that's really difficult. Like, that happened to her, that's happened to Tiger Woods, this happens to people for different reasons. Go on, what picture was that?
There was a picture of a fan.
Oh, God.
That was a strange time to put that up. There's a picture of a fan, and he was standing there with a T-shirt looking at Woods as Woods is walking through the galleries, and the picture is a giant blow-up of the DUI mugshot.
Right, okay, yeah.
Like, so you just can't get by. Look, he's still a completely flawed person.
Yeah, but we all are. Like, it's something I've actually thought about around the John Delaney thing. Like, I don't have sympathy for John, but I have a lot of sympathy for his family. He has kids,
100%.
And if they Google their father, like, he's still their father, and you read all this stuff and hear all this stuff, like, there's a lot of people, like, go from David Bowie and John Peel in music, go from a lot of film stars, actors, writers, and if you strip things away, there are a lot of cracks there. There are a lot of flaws there. A lot of defects there.
Yeah.
Like, there are not many perfect people out there.
Hey, listen, no one in this studio for sure. Like, I mean, completely. Yeah, and you think like Woods' children will get to an age where they'll start using the internet.
Yeah.
Won't be
like
pretty.
I've always thought that about dopers. How hard, somebody that idolises their parents, like seeing they've Olympic medals or whatever, and then they grow up a bit and start reading into it and find out, oh, my mother or my father cheated. Like, how you deal with that? Like, it must be.
Yeah.
It's a difficult thing.
So it's just amazing. So that was Tiger. We'll talk about some of the golf and the shots and the quality of his play with Lawrence Donegan and Dermot Gilleese after 8 o'clock. There is football this evening?
There is. It's December 2016 since Dundalk last suffered 3 successive defeats. October 2012, if you want to go back to the time, they suffered 3 in a row in the league. But that's the prospect facing the double winners tonight. Informed Bohemians visit Oriel Park in one of 4 games in the SSE Airtricity Premier Division. Elsewhere, Cork City are away to UCD. St Pat's welcomes third place Derry City to Richmond Park, and Sligo entertain Waterford. Arsenal are looking to put their poor away form behind them tonight and return to the Premier League's top 4 in the process. They are away to Watford tonight. Only 1 win in their last 7 away games have Arsenal. Watford line out with Ben Foster in goal, 4-4-2 with Darrell Janmaat, Craig Cathcart, Christian Kabasele and Adam Messina as their back 4. Kiko Femenia, Abdoulaye Doucouré, Etienne Capoue and Will Hughes are their midfield, with Troy Deeney and Andre Gray up front. For Arsenal, Bart Leno in goal, and Shkodran Mustafi, Lauren Koscielny, Konstantinos Mavropanos and Nacho Monreal are their back 4. Sitting in midfield, Lucas Torreira and Granit Xhaka. In front of them, it's Henrik Mkhitaryan, the inform Aaron Ramsey and Alex Iwobi, with Pierre-Emerick Aubameyang leading the line. And kick-off at Vicarage Road coming up on 8 o'clock. Rugby Australia said they had no alternative but to sack Israel Folau. The Wallabies fullback was unrepentant for his homophobic social media posts of last week. Chief Executive of Rugby Australia, Raylene Castle, says Folau had been warned formally and repeatedly about his social media conduct and ignored those warnings, while head coach Michael Cheika said he'd also spoken with Folau about the matter.
We had a discussion at the end of after the last time and made it pretty clear about, his right to believe and our support in that, if that's what he wants, to be part of the team, and but that getting out in that disrespectful manner publicly is not what our team's about. When you're playing the gold jersey, we represent everyone in Australia, everyone, right? Everyone that's out there supporting us. We don't pick and choose. We want everyone on that wagon with us to the World Cup, for example, or in a Bledisloe Cup. We want everyone there fighting with us and standing with us.
Meanwhile, Billy Vunipola will be free to play against Munster on Saturday. His club Saracens say they had lengthy discussions with the England number 8 yesterday about his social media activity. Vunipola decided to voice his support for Folau by posting himself, and I quote, "Man was made for woman to procreate. That was the goal, no?" Saracens say they recognise the complexity of some belief systems, but claim Vunipola showed a serious error of judgment and has been warned about his future conduct. Sticking with that game in Coventry, Joey Carberry remains highly unlikely to be fit to face Saracens. The Ireland out half hasn't played since the recurrence of a hamstring injury in their quarter-final victory away to Edinburgh. Keith Earls does look set to return, having sat out the last 2 games with a tightness to his thigh. Out through a precaution was Earls, while John Klein is on course to return from a leg injury of his own. And while they give Carberry every chance to prove his fitness, Johan van Graan won't be rushing the number 10.
Yeah, it's still highly unlikely. We'll just take it day by day and then make a final call later in the week. But like I said last week, we won't take any chances with him. If he's ready, he's ready. If he's not, then we won't take a chance.
Meanwhile, good news from Boston today for Finuala McCormack. She placed 11th in the Boston Marathon there. The Wicklow athlete ran a personal best time of 2 hours 30 minutes and 38 seconds, shaving almost a minute off her previous best. The women's race won by Ethiopia's Worknesh Dagefa, while Kenya's Lawrence Chirono won the men's race, Kieran.
Yeah, she's actually really unlucky there, as well as being it's been a great run for her, because the top 10, I think, qualified automatically for Rio, and it's never been harder to qualify for a marathon. They've changed the qualifications criteria for the Olympic marathon. So even though she shaved a minute off her, I would say she'd be very disappointed, because it was an incredible run.
Yeah, in terrible conditions as well. Cathal Dennehy, though, was saying on Twitter the chances are, the way things are ranked out throughout the year, there's every chance that she'll be bumped.
No, she still should make it, but it would be great to get it out of the way so early, because the athletes always prefer that, particularly with marathons, because you can't run too many marathons in a year, really. You do 2, you're doing well.
Turlock O'Brien?
Yeah, Carlow manager Turlock O'Brien, along with coach Stephen Poacher and midfielder Brendan Murphy, have appealed their respective bans. They're due to have their cases heard by the GEA Central Appeals Committee this week. O'Brien was handed a 20-week ban for threatening conduct towards the match referee following their Division 3 defeat to Down. Poacher and Murphy were handed 12-week bans for similar infractions against that official, James Birmingham. And Ken Doherty, he trails world number 39 Scott Donaldson by 5 frames to 4 following the first session of their second round qualifier for the World Championships. Fergal O'Brien was beaten 10 frames to 4 by Mark Davis, while Antrim's Jordan Brown was whitewashed by China's Liu Haotian 10-0. It's the first, not the first, but pardon me, you have to win 3 rounds of qualifiers to make it through to the Crucible next week. And Ailish Considine is going to spend another season in the women's AFL. The Clare Jewel player has signed a new contract with the Adelaide Crows, a side for whom she scored a goal in last month's grand final win over Carlton. Considine is the second Irish player to commit to playing the 2022 season down under, with Tipperary's Ailish McCarthy re-signing for the Western Bulldogs.
Last story.
Sean Edwards, he's pulled out of a proposed return to the Wigan Warriors. The Wales defence coach had been lined up to take the reins at the Super League side, with an oral agreement reached in March to succeed Adrian Lamb, but Edwards cites a lack of preparation time as his reason for declining a return to the club he once captained.
The clue to Tiger's success was the way he rode the security guard challenge. Different attitude. Did you see this?
If he goes down, he gets a penalty.
Yeah.
Jeez, he picked himself gingerly. Not much contact there for a man who
was it coming together? Is that what they say?
Yeah,
coming together?
Jeez, the security guard. I mean,
imagine he did damage to his Achilles. Imagine he pinged his Achilles.
He would never be seen again, that security guard.
Not even his Achilles. Imagine he was put his back out again. Imagine that.
And he was just trying to stop the fans.
Get to him.
Yeah, he
went on his arse.
He was trying too hard, but he obviously was wearing. He had no grip in his shoes and just
long studs.
Oh, yeah. How? Oh, it doesn't bear thinking about. And people would have been saying, "I wonder, could Woods have won the Masters?" No, he couldn't.
He was in a great position till that security guard creamed him on the 13th.
It's like the mad priest of the Athens Olympics.
He's not far off, actually.
Yeah, like who stopped a guy winning. He was going to win gold, wasn't he? The Brazilian. He was going to win gold. Yeah. At Looper. He was around at Brexit protest last week as well.
Was he? Still going, is he?
Still out in the white community, yeah. Somehow.
Good interview. It was a Greek athlete, wasit?
Brazilian.
Brazilian.
Yeah. Just that'd be a good interview. How does he manage to accommodate that?
He ran in the middle of a Formula 1 race as well.
Yeah.
I think it was the British Grand Prix, wasn't it?
He had a good run around that time.
Yeah, he did a few things. What else did he do?
There was your man as well who stood in the white jersey in the Man United picture.
Oh, that guy.
Yeah.
Munich.
Yeah. He did a few things. I think he gate-crashed Wimbledon quite well. He got out, he was in his whites, and he might have even hit a few shots. Couldn't have. I must be misremembering that.
I remember.
But the Man United one's funny because Andy Cole's looking over at him and no one else even.
It's like the two guys, there's two still to this day. The United one gets forgotten about because it's, it was a quarter-final, I think, or a semi-final, and it was harmless. There's two lads forevermore in those pictures of Liverpool's comeback in the 2005 Champions League trophy-winning thing. They just got tracksuits and got onto the trophy presentation rostrum and are there in the thick of it, arm in arm with such greats like Jimmy Traore and Hossamy.
Maybe Darren Potter was one of them. He was there.
Two randomers, somehow. Just there forevermore. Amazing.
Yeah.
Lads, Tigers are so much more relatable now. Look at the hair, says Tommy. Doing it for the baldies.
As I said yesterday, he's codding nobody. He should shave the last of that off.
I don't. Why is he hanging on?
There's some people do it, and they're well within their rights to do it, but they're fooling nobody.
But he would look younger if he shaved it.
He would, yeah.
But he always wears a hat cap anyway, so
it doesn't matter. And he takes it off.
When he takes off in 18, he goes from being Tiger Woods. Geez, he could pass for late 30s.
Yeah.
He's ripped into. Geez,
I'm sure there's a gasp from some people at the 18th when he took off the cap, and they looked at his head and went, "Oh God!"
But if he shaved it, he'd be back to looking cool as again.
Looking slick.
Yeah, that's ripped. He looks amazing.
He's got the massive guns. He's now a successful golfer again.
Yeah.
I mean, that guy could, if you put his mind to it, get some serious action.
if we learned anything is keeping your trousers tight.
Partner was literally standing by the 18th.
He's been married before.
Yeah.
Come on, don't even. God, that jeez. So, by the way, Liverpool fans, Thursday, May the 2nd. Thursday, May the 2nd. You two should up for a second. Thursday, May the 2nd, thanks to Bold Sports. Steve McManaman is going to join us to talk about, all things really, seasons past and present. So Steve McManaman, special guest at the Roadshow on Thursday, May the 2nd. It will be somewhere in Dublin. Keep listening to Off the Ball. We'll announce more guests and details in the next few days. Short break. We'll look again at this FAI statement and hear from Brian Kerr as well.
Off the Ball on